want to tell you something amazing about this car. See this car? Nobody built it. I know it sounds crazy and it's hard to believe that a perfectly running machine that comes with windows, radio, and comfortable seats could have no maker. You're probably wondering, well, how could that be? But it's true. The way this car came together is completely random. No one built it, no one planned it. A long time ago, it started off as a single metal ball. And then just like that, it expanded. And over time, all the matter that was pent up in this ball began to change and take on a different form. It became a sleek, shiny body with doors, and it even gave itself a trunk space where things could be stored. And is there more? Well, sure. See, the outside of this car is one thing, but this is only the shell. If you want to know how life actually began inside the vehicle, well, that's a whole nother story to tell. I'll tell you more about that later. But first, give me a minute. I want you to understand just how everything in this car works. Now, when you look under the hood, you'll see all these different parts. Nothing is out of place or put in sloppily, and every part is crucial to make sure that this car runs properly. You got your engine that feeds on gas so the car can drive. And we all know without the battery, it wouldn't survive. But it's the alternator that charges the battery while you're on the road, basically keeping it alive. Even the smallest part is the most necessary tool. Like when you turn your key in the ignition, that couldn't happen without the spark plug lighting the fuel. Now, when you look at all this, I know it might look as if someone put all these parts together in a very specific place for a very specific function, but don't be confused, that's not true at all. These parts all came from nowhere and just gradually evolved. They were just basic metal scraps with no real frame that knew they couldn't stay the same, and over a long, slow process, they began to adapt and change. See, survival of the fittest is the name of the game. They had to adapt, and adapt they did. And over time, these metal parts turned themselves into engines and batteries so that it could live. But this vehicle's evolution had to continue, because if it didn't, it knew it would lose. And it grew 4 wheels for itself so it could finally move. And now, we're here. We have a perfect functioning machine. One that came to be on its own. It didn't have any help. That's right, no one built this car. Because this car, it built itself. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I know. You think I sound crazy. Everyone does when I tell them that. No, the outside of this car is put together so well, there's no way it got here from an explosion alone. And the parts inside work together so perfectly, I guess it's ridiculous to think that they evolved all on their own. This car didn't come together by chance. This was someone's intent. I don't need to see who made this car to know that somebody made it. I guess that's just common sense. But the universe is far more complex than the outside of a car. And the human body way more complex than the parts inside it. So how is it that sometimes you and I can look at this world we live in and tell ourselves there's no God behind it? Now, you don't have to believe in God. He gives you the right to choose, so that's all up to you. But just know when you die and face him, you won't have an excuse, because though you couldn't see him, you can clearly see his attributes. He was the one who stretched the skies of the solar system, who hung all the stars in space. He's why everything orbits around the sun and why we have gravity that holds it all in place. See, no one had to tell me this car was designed to work the way it does. I already knew that. The windows go up, and they go down. So I already proved that, but every day the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So you never wondered who told us to do that? And like whoever made this car, God didn't put anything in this world by accident. See, these wheels, they couldn't turn if they didn't have an axle, and if the earth didn't have a moon, we'd be tilted off our axis, and if there was no sun, we'd be worse off, but none of that is happening. Because God created this environment in such a way that you and I could live. He made all that we see. Everything in the universe is his. You don't have to just look at space to see his goodness. You can look at your own body. He gave you eyes and ears and a mouth, and so you can chew your food. He gave you teeth and a mind so you can think. He gave you hands and feet, a heart that beats, not just when you're awake, but even while you sleep. And he gave you lungs so you can breathe. Or we could talk about the birds and the bees. How in order to continue life, God made it to be that when a man and a woman come together, the man will release his seed and the woman has the remarkable ability to conceive. And even after the miracle of birth, he made it to be that within her breast would be all the nourishment that child needs. You want to tell yourself no one designed it all to be this way? I find that hard to believe. No, the truth is, no matter who you are or how you were born, you are not an accident or a product of chance. God made you, and He put you here with a purpose. Even if you don't believe in Him, He still shed His Son's blood for you because He thought that you were worth it. And His word says that before you were even formed in your mother's womb, God knew you, and He called you by name. This is even true from the person that from birth was born blind or lame. Maybe you don't have hands or feet. The truth still remains. Nothing has changed. God made you, and He loves you all the same. This is even true for the person who spends all their days trying to measure up to what the world says is beautiful until you feel crazed. I want you to know that even from that rat race, you can be saved because God says you're perfect just the way you are. In His eyes, we are all fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, I don't know who made this car. I'm sure I can find out by standing in front of a computer screen. I don't doubt that person exists because his work can clearly be seen.